Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So just gonna recap my trading week last week. I know I usually say these videos will be quick, and they turn out to be they turn out to be long, but this one's actually gonna be quick because there weren't that many trades this week. So there was just one trade spilled over from last week, which was this GBPNZD trade. So I already spoke through this trade on my previous recap video. So I'll just wrap it up with closing the trade off. So it didn't actually hit that final target. We just closed off on 1 hour where I closed half of the position and the rest was stopped out at break even. So this was the trade at the time of entering. Actually, before I do that, it was just a typical break and retest of a daily level after some rejection on the H4. Entered after the H1 morning star. There was some hidden divergence on the H4, booked 50% at 1 hour and the rest was stopped at break even. So yeah, this was pretty much the trade. So we had this kind of upward trend line here, and price broke above this previous resistance level, came back very correctively and formed that nice kind of reversal pattern at the level, right? So that's right when I entered. And then I pulled 50% of the trade when it got to this previous level of structure just here, right? That was just my 1 hour initial target. And then obviously the trade just pulled against me, right? And stopped me out at break even. So I'll just jump to the chart here. So this was pretty much the same setup, right? So, you know, once price, as I said, once price kind of got back to this level, closed half of the position. Good thing that I did, you know, because it formed this kind of reversal pattern right at this previous level just here. So, you know, that worked out pretty good. And we actually broke this trend line very impulsively up as well, right? So, you know, I'm actually looking for this to probably pull back up into this this previous resistance here. If it shows some signs of rejection, then I'll probably start trading this to the downside, because I think we had a clear break of market structure, right? So yeah, my bias on this pair is probably starting to shift. But anyway, that's for another video. All right, so the next trade for the week was actually first trade for the week was on NZDCAD. So it was taken on the 15-minute time frame. It was a short position. It was a break and retest of a daily level after some rejection, entered on the 15-minute after regular divergence, and change in structure on the 15-minute. Closed trade early after price started to break back into uptrend structure. So this was the trade here at the time of entering. Close that off, right? So we have, I don't actually have my RSI on here, but you know, we had this divergence happened here on this higher high, right? And then price broke back structure just here, and I entered on that retest once it pulled back up. And then this was a trade here at the time of closing. Cool. So once price started to kind of break back up, I decided to close the trade off. So this is where I did analysis on the pair, right? So I'll just get rid of this as well. Right, so it had this previous level of support that was very clear, right? Very clear level of support, and then price broke through that level of support very impulsively, right? And then it took a very long time to kind of pull back to the level. If price got to my level, if price continued in this slow corrective manner and got to the level that way, then that would have been a really good trade, right? I think this worked out to be like a B level. Yeah, no, it was actually a C. So yeah, this was a C grade trade. So if it pulled all the way back correctively, then that would have probably made the trade a bit more, you know, given it a bit more confluence, right? That I had more confidence in the trade, right? But anyway, so we had this divergence being formed anyway. I didn't really like this bullish strong move into the level. But you know, once it did get to the level, it rejected the level quite clearly on this H4 candle, right? Which is a very clear rejection candle for me. So I was happy with at least seeing that, but this was a massive bullish engulfing candle on the daily, right? If we just jump to the daily, yeah, that was a huge momentum candle on the daily. So I had that kind of running against the trade. So we had here on the 15-minute time frame, price made, I can get rid of this as well. All right, so we had price making higher highs right here. All right, so higher highs on price, but if you look on the RSI, we were making lower highs, right? So what I waited to see was just a shift in structure on the 15-minute. So this was the last structural low just here, because that was the last impulse, right? So we had that last impulse, and then price broke structure. Didn't really break it impulsively, but it made a new lower low, right? So once price pulled back, I think I was looking at the bodies, yeah. So yeah, once price pulled back into those closed bodies, that's when I entered. Yeah, so I entered just here at this level, and I just kind of paid attention to what price was doing. Once price started to move in my direction, I kind of identified these highs. So I was just looking at these highs just here, and I just said to myself, if price does break back above and form a new high, I just close the position off, and I think that's the candle that did it, because we had a close higher, so we had a close higher than the previous highs, so that invalidated the trade for me. All right, and it's a good thing that I did close the position, because the trade just completely went against me. All right, so I just jumped back out. So I saved myself a good loss here, because that would have turned out to be a full loss. So and I think I closed the position off with 0.25 minus 0.25 hour. So yeah, I'm happy with my trade management there. Next trade for the week was here on USDJPY. So it was a long position taken on the 1 hour time frame. Price came to a previous daily level of resistance correctively. After price formed H1 divergence, the price broke corrective structure on the H1. I entered on the retest of the channel. Closed the trade early after it failed to take off. In hindsight, structure never really changed into the trade direction. This was poor analysis on my part, but I managed the trade well enough. All right, so this was the trade here at the time of entering. Cool, so we had this kind of corrective structure on the H4, H1, and then price broke the structure. It didn't break it impulsively, but it broke nonetheless, and then came back and rejected it. Right, had some nice rejection price action here. And then this was the trade here at the time that I closed it off. Cool, so we had price kind of failing to take off, and then we had this big bearish candle pushing into the level. I was hoping to see price price rejected the level again, and I was hoping to see price actually take off from there, but that never really happened. So I just decided to close the trade off and break even. Right, so I'll just jump to the chart here. That was USDCHF daily time frame. Right, so we had these previous lows just here. So this is where price was at the time that I took the trade. So we had these previous lows here, so previous support. Also around this level here, previous resistance, right? So if I look at the H4 time frame, so we had price kind of making these lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, but it was moving into the level very correctively, right? So and then we also had this big we had this very slow market movement here, and then this big bullish engulfing candle just here, taking out all that price action. So I think this kind of swayed me to a shift in market structure, but that never really happened. But that's not where I entered the trade. But I saw that big strong bullish candle, and it helped me shift my bias into a possible trend change, right? So on the H1, so this is just the corrective channel I was looking at, which was, we had slight leakage here, but before that it was very clearly respected, right? Apart from that slight leakage there. So then once price made, this was the price action that formed the bullish engulfing candle on the 4 hour, and I would have liked to see a clearer break of the channel. This was a very slow corrective break, so it's not the best break of the channel, but you know, it broke it nonetheless, right? And then it came back and tested the channel as support, right? So some nice clear rejection candles just here. What I did after I got this bullish engulfing candle here, I just waited for price to kind of retest, which it did. So I got my entry right here after it retested, and you know, price initially went into my favor, right? I think we had news around that time, so price went into my favor quite nicely, but it never really got to that 1 hour level for me to put my stops on break even, right? So you know, then price came back with this big bearish candle, showing strong bearish pressure, and I kind of lost faith in the trade at that point, but I just decided to hold it out because it was still a valid trade. But then once price kind of pushed back up, once price started to kind of push back up, I was expecting it to kind of take off from here if it was to continue, and it didn't. Instead, it kind of pulled back into the level. Once it did that, I kind of just reanalyzed the trade, and I just reanalyzed the trade and actually saw that market structure never really changed, right? For market structure to change for me, because this was the last previous high, right? And then this here was the last previous low, right? So I'll just change that to low, right? And then this could be high, right? So you had last previous high, last previous low. Low was broken, right? So the low was broken, so you could just update the new low, right? So that would have been the new low, and then that low was broken again, so this would have been the new low here, right? So for market structure to change for me, this high would have to be broken, right? And that never really happened. Yes, we broke the downward channel, right, that I had drawn in, and I was hoping to see that shift in bias because of this big bullish candle that happened on the 4 hour. But in actuality, the structure never really changed, right? So that was a poor trade on my part. For this to be valid for me, I would have had to see a nice clear impulsive break of the channel, right? And then clear market structure break. So that would have been a market structure break for me. Retest of that would have been a valid trade, right? But you know, at least I figured it out. You know, I was wrong on my analysis here, but you know, I saved myself from a loss, right? So I closed that trade off on break even. So I just count it as a learning lesson, and hopefully I wouldn't make the mistake again. And then the last trade for me this week was on USDJPY. It was taken on the 1 hour time frame as a long position, and this trade is currently still open, right? It's a similar sort of analysis to USDCHF, but I think I actually did this analysis correctly, right? So price moved correctively back into daily support after regular divergence on the H1. Price broke structure. What the hell is that? Yeah, price broke structure impulsively, waited for the retest, waited for retest with rejection, entered after bullish confirmation. All right, so this was a trade here at the time of entering. Cool, so we had hidden divergence here on the H1, so lower lows on price, higher lows on the RSI. This was the last structural level I was looking at, right? So we had, this was the last, I guess you could say, counter trend move, and then price broke impulsively, came back, retested with rejection, just waited for that entry confirmation. In this instance, it was a bullish engulfing morning star on the H1. So I entered just here, and then I was looking for that price to just change momentum to the upside, right? So I'll just jump to the chart here, USDJPY. Cool, so jump to the daily. Right, so overall, we've been in this bullish uptrend, right? We've been pretty much bullish for a while. This is the last high, this is the last low. If this low is to be broken, then I'd change, you know, market structure would kind of change for me, right? I wouldn't be taking sales, but for now, market structure is still in play for long opportunities for me. right? This is the level that I'm looking at on the daily time frame, which price moved into. If you look on the H4, you can see price was moving into that level. The level isn't drawn in, but it's pretty clear, right? So price was moving into that level very correctively. And then on the H1, you could see it even clearer, right? So yeah, we have had clear bearish market structure here on the H1, but coming into the level, you can see that change in price action, right? It's very, very strong moves here, and then all of a sudden we've got that slowing of price, right? So we had the lower lows on price here, and then on the RSI we had on the RSI we had those higher lows, right? So lower lows on price, higher lows on the RSI. So this was the kind of structure I was looking at here. It's kind of messy to see, right? But you can kind of see if I just start from here, right? You got lower lows, lower highs. Let me just get rid of, yeah, so you can see here, right? So lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower high, right? We never had that lower low, right? Instead, we broke back above impulsively, and then we came back and tested that broken level, right, with rejection. So I entered here on this morning star pattern here, right? This just a 3 candle pattern, right? And I got my entry just after that that formation happened. So price right now is sitting in, the trade right now is sitting in drawdown. I would have normally closed the trade off over the weekend. I don't like to hold trades that are in drawdown over the weekend. I'd rather just close it off, take the small loss, and look for re-entries once market opens next week. But I wasn't at the chart to manage the trade at the time, so unfortunately I missed closing the trade off. But you could see that shift in structure here just looking at the lines that I drew out, right? We had the lower lows, lower highs, broken highs, equal lows, and that shift, right? So I'm just looking for this continuation to happen, and hopefully it does. Hopefully price just takes off from here and moves into my favor. So yeah, that kind of wraps up the video here for the week. I'm happy to be surviving the market in these current conditions, because it's been a few weeks, probably like a month now, since the market's kind of been slow and kind of choppy, and we had those trends that we are normally seeing, kind of having that shift in bias. So it's kind of difficult periods for trading, especially if you're a trend trader, but I'm happy to actually be surviving these market conditions. So well, that wraps up the video here for the week. As usual, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you like what you see and you like the way I trade and analyze the markets, then feel free to follow me on my trading journey. And if you think the video is going to be useful to anyone, feel free to share the video. Right? Cool. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.